Hello and welcome to the maiden edition of Roadmap 2015. I'm Gbenga Ashiru. There's no gainsaying that the race towards 2015 general elections is already on, even without the umpire blowing the whistle. While the elections in Ekiti weeks ago might have fired some warning shots to what lies ahead of Nigeria's political future, the public still finds it quite necessary to debate the readiness of the Independent Electoral Commission for the general elections. Now, how effective is Nigeria's Electoral Act with many exparte and counter injunctions that trailed previous elections? Now, the insecurity challenge is perhaps the most unknotting issue the electoral umpire may have to deal with. On this edition of Roadmap 2015, Channels TV takes the question to the horse's mouth as we bring the chairman, Independent Electoral Commission, Professor Atahiru Jega, on the hot seat. Before then, here's a background report to set the tune for our discussion with the INEC boss on how set the Nigeria's electoral body is to conduct a free and fair poll come February 2015.
19.
While the telltale signs of what lies ahead of the 2015 elections seem to raise anxiety within some political circles, the just concluded governorship elections in Ekiti might have been the litmus test. The rare show of sportsmanship by Governor Kadi Fayemi, even in defeat, is seen by many observers as the beginning of a new chapter in Nigeria's political aspirations.
If indeed this is the will of the Ekiti people, I stand in deference to your will. If the result of the elections is an expression of the voice of our people, we must all heed your voice.
I have to commend the statesman-like attitude and posturing of Kadi Fayemi in accepting the inevitable. Fayoshetu was gracious. I could even say magnanimous. He gave the impression of eating the humble pie.
Some shortcomings about the elections in Ekiti have been pointed out, the wide accolades on the conduct notwithstanding. The controversy surrounding the outcome is still a subject of contention.
In order to prevent any recurrence of what happened in Ekiti, especially the over-materialization of the process, the harassment and intimidation of citizens, especially those in opposition, our party has decided to challenge in court some of these constitutional breaches, and will also encourage our leaders and supporters who are arrested, harassed, and intimidated to seek the enforcement of their constitutionally guaranteed fundamental rights that were recklessly abridged by the security agencies.
As the race for power inches closer, the expectations from those who truly yearn for a democratic culture seem much of a concern in the state of our dear nation.
The crystal ball is becoming clearer as to the political parties that are expected to play to the rules of the electoral umpire, as Nigerians look forward to put a seal on another political chapter that would be a casting stone for the next 4 years. Let's join the INEC chairman, Professor Atahiru Jega, on this conversation centered on the readiness of INEC to conduct a free and fair polls come February 2015. Professor Atahiru Jega, you're welcome to Roadmap 2015.
Thank you for having me on this program.
How do you guide against a repeat of the 2011 election? We saw a lot of court verdicts, counter motions, counter injunctions, and all that. So, have you been able to work around these provisions of the law?
Well, thank you very much. Actually, we were not happy with what we saw in practice, where sometimes experte orders are given, by courts without even INEC having fair hearing, as it were. And also, we were disturbed by what we saw as a phenomenon of counter orders or judgments by even courts of concurrent jurisdiction. We've seen it most particularly in Anambra, and it worried us. And what we have done is we have raised the issues with the judicial authorities, advising that really something should be done.
Going by last year's last election, what appears to be a never-ending conversation was the amount of money appropriated for the 2011 elections of over about 90 billion naira, and the public also saw Mr. Chairman saying this wasn't enough. That was one conversation that got the public raising a lot of eyebrow. So now Nigerians really want to know how much has been appropriated to INEC. How much do you think would be enough to create a smooth operation?
Well, first of all, I want to say that there was a lot of misconception about the 2011 the funding of the 2011 general elections. People are talking about the 57.7 billion that was appropriated. That was even a supplementary appropriation. There was funding in 2010. A lot of it is about the 2011 elections before the supplementary. There was even funding in the 2011 appropriation, which also went towards elections. Elections in a country like Nigeria, which is very large, with such a large voting population, with many polling units, 100, close to 120 at the time we did the 2011 elections. By the time now we do the 2015 elections, we are likely to have about 150 polling units. You know, by our size and terrain, elections are costly affairs. You have to procure materials, you have to print materials, you have to pay personnel. In Nigeria, unlike in other countries where people volunteer to do election work, you know, if you employ people to do election work, you must pay them. In 2011, youth corpus alone, we used over 300,000. We still had to use people from tertiary institutions. We still had to use federal staff as supervisory presiding officers. We have to buy ballot papers, we have to buy ballot boxes. These things are not even produced in Nigeria. It costs money to do an election. You know, so people better understand that. An election is very, very important to democratic governance. You want to elect good people who can manage the economy well and who can satisfy the needs and the aspirations of people. So you have to fund it well to be able to do it. So the point I'm making, sir, take the trouble to find out how much other countries, even in Africa alone, spend on their elections, and divide it by the total number of voters in those countries, and compare it with Nigeria. You will see that the funding of election in Nigeria is really not too expensive.
Let's go over to allegations of irregularities on the part of some INEC personnel. Last elections, we saw even the recent elections in Anambra may not be said to be a good story to write home about, considering the irregularities. Sometimes the polling results does not seem to tally with what the resident electoral commissioner is announcing. So how do you respond to that, and what are you doing to checkmate all these irregularities come 2015 election?
We appoint independent people to announce results, mostly at the local government level, university professors, but at the governorship level, they are vice chancellors of universities. Secondly, There is
but it's the result presented to them by the resident electoral commissioners that the people are
No,
now,
resident electoral commissioners have no hand in the compilation of results. They don't. This is one fundamental change that this commission has made, which made it different from 2007 and previous elections.
Mr. Chairman, I think we need to get some records straight here. You are saying you're absolving INEC from a responsibility that is fundamentally enshrined to be performed and to be carried out by INEC. I think at this point we need to revisit the Electoral Act to see what provision INEC, the principal responsibility of INEC.
The Electoral Act is very, very clear. The Electoral Act did not say that an EO should declare results or a resident electoral commissioner should declare results.
But definitely the vice chancellor or this person of integrity that may be announcing the results cannot possibly take responsibility for the conduct of the election in that polling area.